Have you ever stopped to think about the real superstar of our global food system? I mean, it's probably not what you'd guess. It's not wheat. It's not rice. It's this humble little bean that is, no joke, quietly shaping our entire world. So let's pull back the curtain and uncover its secrets.
Okay, think about this for a second. It's kind of like a riddle. What single thing could possibly link the chicken on your plate for dinner, the biofuel running a city bus, and, I don't know, the mayonnaise in your sandwich? They seem totally unrelated, right? Well, the answer is actually incredibly important.
And the answer is the soybean. Seriously. See, this isn't just a plant. It's an absolute agricultural powerhouse. Most of the world's soybeans get processed into two main things, meal and oil. That protein-packed meal, that's what feeds the chickens, pigs, and cattle that end up on our dinner plates. And the oil? Well, that becomes everything from the cooking oil in your kitchen to the biodiesel on our vehicles. It's like this invisible thread connecting our entire food and energy system. And the scale we're talking about here is just staggering. The US and Argentina are definitely big players, but Brazil is the undisputed king of soybeans. They grow a whopping 41% of the entire planet's supply. And to put that into perspective, the world harvests almost 400 million tons of these things every single year. It's a number that's almost impossible to wrap your head around, and it just goes to show how critical this one crop is. You know, with so much riding on it, the pressure is always on to make sure we're growing the best bean we possibly can. And that brings us right to the heart of our story, this never-ending quest for a better bean. I mean, how do you improve a crop that's already so incredibly successful? How do you make it even more productive, more resilient, and ready for whatever challenges the future throws at us? This isn't some new question, by the way. This is what scientists do. It's a constant, ongoing field of research. They're always testing new varieties, the scientific term is cultivars, to figure out which ones perform best under all sorts of different conditions. So that leads us to the big question, right? How do you actually design the soybean of the future? It's definitely not as simple as just planting a seed and hoping for the best. No, it's this incredibly meticulous process of science, experimentation, and, this is the most important part, data. And to find out how it's done, we need to zoom way in. We're going from that huge global picture down to a single experimental farm in Basas, Brazil, right in the heart of soybean country. This is where the real, boots-on-the-ground work of building the future of our food supply actually happens. So, the experiment we're looking at took place right here, on a farm in the state of Maranhão. It's a super important agricultural region in Brazil, and you'll see, what happened in this one little field has implications for the whole world. So how'd they do it? Well, first, they analyzed the soil down to the last molecule. It's a type called yellow oxysol. Then they planted 40 different varieties of soybean, and they did this across 2 different planting seasons. Then, to make sure their results were rock solid, they repeated the entire experiment 4 times. It's just an incredible amount of detailed, rigorous work. And that brings us to the next and maybe most crucial phase. Because the real goal here wasn't just to harvest beans, it was to harvest information. The real product of this farm wasn't food, it was pure, unadulterated data. And how did they get that data? The old-fashioned way, by hand. When it was time to harvest, you had researchers out there in the fields with rulers and scales carefully measuring 10 plants from every single plot to capture every tiny detail of how they grew. And I mean, they measured everything. Plant height, super important for resisting wind. The height of the very first pod, that affects how easily machines can harvest the beans. They counted every single pod on the plant, every grain inside the pods, and they even weighed the seeds. Each one of these little details is a crucial piece of a much larger puzzle. But of all those measurements, there's one that stands above all the rest: grain yield. Simply put, it's the total weight of beans you get from a specific area. This is the bottom line. It's the ultimate measure of whether a cultivar is a true champion or not. So after all that planting, all that growing, all that painstaking measurement, what did they end up with? Well, you take your 40 cultivars, multiply by 2 seasons, multiply by 4 repetitions, and you get 320 distinct data samples. And every single one of those represents a massive amount of hard, physical work. And this is what all that work looks like. It's not just a table of numbers. Each row is its own little story. It tells you exactly which variety was planted, when it was planted, and precisely how it performed, from how tall it grew right down to its final all-important grain yield. This table is the treasure they were digging for.
Okay, so why should we care? Why does one experiment on one farm in Brazil matter to the rest of us? Well, this is where the story pivots and goes global again, because the real impact of this work goes way, way beyond a single harvest. Because the most important thing these researchers produced wasn't some new super soybean. It was the data set itself. And, this is the game changer, they made it completely open and accessible to literally anyone in the world. And that was totally intentional. The researchers say it right in their paper. This data set was created to be used by scientists from all different fields. They didn't lock their hard work away in a lab somewhere. They gave it to the world as a gift. And that right there is the critical difference. Think about it. A traditional study gives you one paper, one set of conclusions, and its impact is pretty limited. But by releasing the raw data, this one experiment becomes a global resource. Other scientists can use it to run countless new digital experiments. Geneticists can comb through it looking for clues to drought resistance. Engineers can use it to train AI models to better predict crop yields. The potential is just multiplied 1,000 times over. So you see, this single field in Brazil didn't just grow soybeans, it grew possibilities. This dataset is like a seed planted in the global scientific community, and it leaves us with one final, really fascinating question. What new breakthroughs will grow from it, and how will it help all of us feed the future?